Hey everybody, welcome back to the Carriage podcast. It's been a while.
It's been a while.
Thank you.
It's going to be kind of a laid-back podcast.
Kind of a recap of the year.
Yeah, we don't... a lot of times when we were doing podcasts before, we'd go in with not exactly a script, but an outline, and we got a couple things we want to talk about, but we're kind of thinking about making this a monthly podcast where we kind of just check in with our audience, but this one's a special one. We're filming this, or recording this on Christmas Day.
Yeah.
From The Roost, which is a local bar here in the area.
It's very close.
Yeah, it's a very niche spot, only the coolest of the cool come here. It's pretty close to where we film our Let's Play stuff, but hopefully audio will be a little bit better without the PS3 fan running really loud.
Yeah. And we're just going to, talk about shit we were excited about this year, mostly video games. Kind of what's new with the channel. Sort of touch base sort of thing.
So I since January, since the new year, I've been collecting a list of every game that I either played and beat or just beat this year. So I thought we'd kind of go down this list of games and see sort of where I've been. I'm realizing I don't think we said who we are.
Oh man! If this is your first video on the channel,
yeah,
it's a bad place to start.
Yeah, this is for the truest Carriageway fans.
Yeah,
we're speaking to you.
This is this is the Pinkerton album of Carriage Play podcasts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
Or content.
Just
go watch Patrick Basil.
Yeah, it's our most viewed video. So I'm Jacob.
And I'm Joe.
And contrary to popular belief, we are not the same person. We are actually two different people. We're brothers.
And we like playing games and making art. Jacob's a writer. I'm a visual artist.
Mm-hmm.
And making Let's Plays.
So to get back to the games that I've played and beat, I beat Final Fantasy VI.
I was born in a very tiny town.
I was born 7 years ago in Gettysburg.
How many tangents can we get in before we actually start talking about what's on the piece of paper?
Do you like light bulbs? Here's the thing about light bulbs. So I beat Final Fantasy VI this year.
And that's the first time you've played and beaten it?
No, I played and beat it.
On PlayStation 1.
On the PlayStation 1.
The crummy version.
When I was probably in high school.
With the load times.
Yeah. So I played it on the Super Nintendo Classic in January this year.
Much better place to play it. Okay, so after having played all those modern Final Fantasies, what was it like going back? Because the Final Fantasy VI was a game that I remember very fondly when I was in middle school.
When a wee babe. Yeah, I mean, in some ways the game was a lot faster than I remember. It just man, the game moves at a steady pace.
Story beats.
Yeah, I remember it, the first couple times playing it with you, seeming like it took so long to even get to the opera scene, or it took so long to get to the World of Ruin. And after you got to the World of Ruin, everything was just hours and hours and hours. But, playing it again, I don't know, it was maybe 30 hours to kind of get all the characters and beat it.
Yeah. Yeah. And the thing is, there's a lot of content in there, but it's being delivered very quickly.
Yeah.
And I borrowed your Super Nintendo Classic to replay it again. And that struck me as well. I think if they were to make it today, I think they would want to mete out that content a little more judiciously instead of hitting you in the face with it all at once.
Yeah.
A little bit more measured. But I mean, it's still one of my favorite games.
Yeah, and it's really great. And like in playing it again, seeing the Suikoden influence, or the influence it had on Suikoden rather, where like you can really see just the collecting the characters and a lot of like how the game is structured and how people are just moving around and characters coming and going. Reminds me a lot of Suikoden 1 and then built upon even further in Suikoden 2.
And that would when they Konami had started making Suikoden, like it would have been about when people were playing and being influenced by Final Fantasy VI.
Yeah.
That would have been the high watermark for the genre.
Yeah.
Probably on everybody's mind. Certainly on the Contrail when they were making Wild Arms.
So moving on, not all of these games really deserve as much discussion, and not all these games I beat. Tekken 7 was a game I played quite a bit with you. It was a Christmas gift to you last year. We played like halfway through the story.
It was very dumb.
And it's a very dumb story, as Tekken usually is. But we had some good matches. It was a fun time.
I keep coming back to it every once in a while. We'll just boot it up and just fight, get some loot, buy some costumes.
Yeah. Played Undertale. This was another Christmas present.
Yeah, I had high hopes for Undertale, and we didn't finish it.
No.
I think we got toward the end, and something got in the way.
Yeah.
I liked it. It was funny. I don't think it was a very good game.
Yeah, like the idea of not killing everything is such a cool idea, and we were doing a no-kill run, but man, like that it's implemented with just a bad mini game. When we're playing it on the PlayStation 4, I'm sure it's easier with like a mouse, but even then, it's just like a bad mini game.
Well, I mean, it's sort of it's directly analogous to those bullet hell shooters where it's all about just dodging bullets. Yeah. I didn't mind that. I think structurally, though, it was just you were walking in a very linear fashion from beat to beat, and it's like I think it's pretty obvious its core inspiration is Earthbound, and Earthbound is more open.
Yeah,
I think Undertale could have benefited from being structurally more like Earthbound.
Yeah, I didn't get a good sense of like the landscape of Undertale. Like I didn't feel like I don't feel like too many of the towns are memorable, and it is sort of like you just kind of blow through an area and like you come back a little bit and there's like some fun stuff with like the skeletons and kind of going back to the Undyne's house and stuff, but yeah, for the most part it was kind of, it didn't feel like there was a strong through line, kind of like.
But those characters were,
yeah.
I fucking love the characters.
Yeah.
Like, I think when we were playing, it's like, man, that struck me. It's like, wow, this is way better written from a dialogue. The dialogue is so well written. I didn't even expect it, and it was clever and cute. And some, how, the battles went down, how like fun and funny those like characters. The enemies and the characters in the world is.
Yeah.
So I understand why people like it. It's, yeah.
Played some Everybody's Golf.
Oh.
Another Christmas gift last year.
Played a shitload of Everybody's Golf.
Yeah, and that was your game, and I played a couple rounds is all, but, it seems like it's a fun, kind of party game, kind of just kick back, relax, listen to some music, kind of light.
Man, I would put it above than just being a party game because it's like a whole kind of environment you're inhabiting. It's a the nearest game I can point to is Fishing Resort on the Wii, which is a hidden gem. I don't think Everybody's Golf is quite as strong for me, but it's I think it's a highlight of the generation for me. Anyway.
Yeah,
like it's I'm not a golf fan, but I love this game.
Yeah, I mean, there's a cool progression to it. There's side activities like fishing and customizing your character and you unlocking more and more levels and as you advance the ranks.
And there's kind of a cast of characters. I don't know. I haven't finished it yet, but I still still have fun coming back to it. Just this past weekend, spent a lot of time playing Everybody's Golf.
Episode Ignis for Final Fantasy 15 played this year.
And that was the final DLC of Season 1, right?
Yeah. And, we're big Final Fantasy 15 fans. And like, Episode Ignis, like the other episodes, was, I think, like, bad and hard to recommend anybody play unless you're like a true lover of Final Fantasy 15.
Or you're a true lover of the mythos or the characters, because it doesn't play anything like the main game.
No, like, it plays like Bud.
It plays like a bad third-person action game.
And like, yeah, well,
or
like
Episode Ignis does. The game itself is like this open world fun road trip.
Yeah.
And each one of these DLCs, this being the latest, is using those open world mechanics that are okay in just an open world, but when you're putting like structured linear missions there, it falls apart like instantly. The structure is bad.
It's weird, and like, with the episode Gladio and episode Prompto, the two previous DLCs, like, those were dumb. But like but they were like redeemed by like the final scene of those DLCs, both, and it sort of pulls back and relates it back to the Bros and Noct and the main cast of characters there at the end of every one of these DLCs, and that's like where it hits you, and it's like, man, why didn't they just make the whole thing tap into like what makes Final Fantasy 15 special instead of just leaving like a 30-second taste of it,
right?
With a general bad experience otherwise.
But like the missed opportunity for each one of these DLCs is that the road trippy, explory nature of the proper game put your team behind making more areas to explore with your bros.
Yeah.
It's
or more quests with them just all together, or more, dialogue and hanging out, and just
because that's what that makes that game special, is hanging out with your bros on a road trip. And each one of these individual episodes separated the bros where they had nobody to play against, except in Prompto. A little bit.
Kind of, yeah.
Kind of, but like the thing is generally like solo missions, and that's not the core strength.
A little bit in Gladio too, to be fair.
Yeah,
kind of, but it just doesn't get to it's not like Final Fantasy 15 isn't about Gladio. Final Fantasy 15 isn't about Prompto or Ignis or Noct. Final Fantasy 15 is about togetherness.
You know what they remind me of? They remind me of Dirge of Cerberus.
Yeah.
It's a Vincent Valentine in Final Fantasy 7 is rad.
Yeah.
That's a cool character. But, he can't stand alone and just like walk through hallways and shoot things. That's not interesting, and that's not why people love that character.
Yeah.
And this seems like similarly misguided.
And I mean too, like, it gets like negative points for me because it breaks the canon.
Oh yeah, it retcons the original ending to the game.
And it's like, yeah, it's cute and it's emotional, but like, man, it's dirty. It's a dirty trick.
I mean, and it was a direct response to people being pissed off about the ending.
Yeah.
Which is unfair, because I thought the ending was very well done. Very tasteful in this kind of, and it cheapens it in the way that Final Fantasy X-2 cheapens Final Fantasy X.
I played The Witness.
Can I get a witness?
No, you can't.
I didn't play it, so you tell me about it.
Yeah.
Jonathan Blow.
Yeah, or is it Jonathan Suck? I can't remember. The Witness. I'm not a puzzle gamer. Puzzle gamer. This isn't puzzlegamer.com.
Puzzle Gamer 420.
Puzzle Gamer Lover 69. The Witness, it's like, it's all right. And like, it's not all right. It's a good game, but it's just like so not my thing. I was listening to music, which through Spotify while I played it, which made it a little better for me. But like, man, like I just don't, I don't like puzzles.
But what about the world itself? Was it interesting? Was there like cool stuff to see and hear and do?
So I didn't beat it. There is cool stuff to see and do. Well, maybe not do. There's cool stuff to see and kind of explore a little bit, and it is kind of exciting. And in a way, it's kind of like Metroidvania, where
It's
you're
ability
like,
gated.
Yeah, but it's your own ability, and it's like, so kind of your own ability. I mean, it's not like you could have really figured it out just through brute force. I mean, you kind of have to see like the progression of like how these things mean. To me, it's just like, it's so completely confusing. Like my brain just doesn't work that way, that I was just getting more frustrated. And even when I looked up the puzzle answers, I was like, I don't know. I don't get it on some of them. But I didn't beat it either. And but I think it's probably good for what it is.
I wish you played a little. It's pretty.
Yeah. I beat Gravity Rush 2 this year. It wasn't that I played most of it the year it came out, but I just never beat it. Mm-hmm. So this year, after playing The Witness, I think I just wanted something a little bit more fun and free.
Okay, so I only played like a couple hours of Gravity Rush 2. 5? Anyway, but I was talking to Jacob about this the other day randomly, about Gravity Rush. Mm-hmm. And I mean, in comparison, like I was making the comparison to Rockstar Mission Design. And they both do that annoying open world game thing that it's this great open, fun world to explore, but as soon as you trigger a mission, it's a bad linear action game. Mm-hmm. It's like, stop doing that. It's an open world game. Let people like attack a mission or like an objective however they choose. Mm-hmm. Play to your strengths. And then I compared those to what I think is the high watermark for open world action or open world mission design, and it's Metal Gear Solid 5. So you look at a place and you figure it out, and you do it however the fuck you want to, with the tools you have at hand. And some will just naturally be easier than others, and it's like organic and like so good.
Yeah, and I mean, Gravity Rush 2 is one of those games that I do really like, but it's also extremely frustrating. And that's why I didn't beat it originally, like when I first played it. And coming back, kind of a second sitting, I ended up enjoying it more. Like I came back knowing and sort of accepting that this is what it is. So, and kind of having that more forgiving eye to it. And I actually ended up liking the ending. It goes like some weird places. It does like some weird stuff.
Well, that's what's really frustrating for me, because everything else about that game I adore.
Yeah.
Like, I think the characters are great. The art direction is amazing. I love the mechanics of just flinging yourself into the air. It's so good. It's on so many levels, but it falls down in some very, very important places for me.
Yeah.
So it's like, I'm frustrated because I should like it more.
And it's like, I don't regret beating it. I think it's like it really does go cool places that I never expected. But it's hard to say to someone like, yo, sit down and, play 30 to 40 hours of this game that, 20 of that is going to be just like bad time missions,
Yeah. But like that being said, it's like, I fully intend at some slow point in my life to actually go back and play it.
Yeah, and Gravity Rush 2 like excels so far beyond Gravity Rush 1. I platinumed, humble brag, platinumed Gravity Rush 1 on the Vita, and I loved it. so I had high hopes for 2 to like really fix those fundamental problems in its the quest and mission design, but it didn't. But it is really so much better in all these other ways.
Yeah.
And I played a little Zelda Breath of the Wild this year. It was a little hard because I don't have a Switch, so I was just going down to my nephew's house who has a Switch and playing for like an hour burst at a time in handheld mode, and it was hard for me to get into it at that point because it just, when it's sort of, you have this like distance, I feel like it's a game that you just need to immerse yourself in. You just need to sit down there for 8 hours on a TV and just be in that world.
Yeah.
So it was hard for me to get into it, and I didn't beat it, and I didn't make it very far. I probably only put in maybe 7 hours is all.
But like it's continues to be like something that I think is right up both of our alleys.
Yeah,
like, that is totally a game that we would love, provided we have enough time to do it. And like playing on somebody's Switch in handheld mode, at like half-hour stretches, that you're just not going to get anywhere. It's just going to be frustrating.
Yeah, in the daytime, like while they're at school, and like it just it just felt, it's just not the ideal way to play.
Yeah.
I played and beat Monster Hunter World.
Okay.
The story mode. Never once did multiplayer. Never once.
Yeah, I played a fair amount of it as well. And I don't know, like Jacob, I think you're higher on it than I am.
Yeah, I'm not like super high on it. Like it's kind of another thing, kind of like The Witness, where it's just not quite my game. I did really enjoy exploring those environments, and but like I had to do my own RP because I don't like killing animals and like the monsters in the game. So like I always had to sleep trap. I always had to trap the enemies. Like I didn't want to kill them. So and I mean that's kind of fun, but like it's not built for that. It's not built just to be played by yourself. The story was kind of fun, but it was also dumb. Like I would like, if it was just slightly more like Dragon's Dogma, or
that's what I kept coming back to. It's like, because it's built on that like Dragon's Dogma middleware. I think it's called MT Framework. That Dragon's Dogma is built on. A lot of the art, I had high hopes, and I knew what a Monster Hunter game was because I'd played one on the PSP, and so like I should have known better, but I kind of thought that this was going to be their opportunity to become more like Dragon's Dogma, like more proper.
And it is.
And it is, but I wanted it to be something it wasn't.
Yeah.
And I wasn't playing online either. And I love seeing the art. Like I love seeing the fantasy animals and how they interact with the environment. Like I loved everything about it.
I love coming back to town.
The town was great. Like it's one of those games I feel like I'm bitter because I feel like I should like it better than I do, and I don't.
Mm-hmm. But I think I really do have a lot of respect for it, and I'm happy that it was so successful for Capcom, because like it's not one of those games that I have a problem with existing. There are those games where just like I get annoyed every time someone mentions like, not to throw any game under the bus, but like like Overwatch. To throw a game under, so I just spit on Joe. To throw a game under the bus, like I it's like I shouldn't hate Overwatch, and I've never played Overwatch, but it's just like I hate people talking about Overwatch.
Because it's a lot like they're trying to convert you. It's like they've come to your door. Can we talk to you about Overwatch?
You have a minute to talk about Overwatch.
Get the fuck off my door.
Or like Monster Hunter World, like it's so much closer to my speed, that like, yeah, like it's not quite there for me, but it's clearly there for a lot of other people, and I'm happy with it.
Yeah.
This is a weird game I picked up called Momodora.
Side-scrolling pixel art Metroidvania.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I beat it in a night. I think I beat it in a single sitting. It's all right. I got it on, there was like a PSN sale, and I was, digging around, and I saw that game was pretty cheap early in the year, and I was looking for something to play, and picked that up. And
it's got pretty sprite art.
It's got really pretty sprite art. The game as a whole isn't like great. And I guess it's just like
How often can we say this during this podcast?
Yeah,
it's like, oh
really.
man, it looks really pretty, but it's not all it could be gameplay wise.
Yeah, I know. Well, I mean, so I thought it was this year, but I don't see it on my list here. It must have been last year, late last year. I played Super Metroid for the first time and beat it.
Mm-hmm.
And I've played Symphony of the Night multiple times, and I've played Axiom Verge, which is maybe closer comparison to Momodora in the sense of indie Metroidvania.
Mm-hmm.
And like Momodora is like cool, it looks great, but like it's at the bottom of that list. Like it's below Guacamelee, it's below all the other Metroidvanias.
I think I remember asking you about that at the time. It's like you were saying, it's like, yeah, it's okay, but okay. And then I said rank the Metroidvanias, and I remember you also ranked Guacamelee really low.
Yeah,
I
think it is low.
I think it's cool.
But when you're comparing it to the greats, man.
Yeah, I mean, I think why I like Guacamelee so much is that it has a town.
Yeah.
I think that already like gave it an extra point there.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Guacamelee and Axiom Verge are kind of on a similar level for me. It's just been so long since I played Guacamelee.
Yeah, and you might be right. I'm forgiving a lot just for this thing that I've always loved since fucking Fazanadu and Simon's Quest.
Yeah. So anyway, also, I think this came out in February, Shadow of the Colossus remake. Shadow of the Colossus 2018. Played that, beat it. Played the original too, by the way. Not this year, but so I'm familiar with Shadow of the Colossus.
We played it originally on PlayStation 2, and then we played the HD PlayStation 3 version of the original, and both of us playing this remake.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a game worth replaying a bunch of times because every time I play it, I get something else out of it. When I played the remake, I got like a lot of like sense of like anger from the game. Like there's just not like anger with the game, but keying off of the emotions of it and sort of being in tune with like just this frustration that Wander feels, with the situation of like his girlfriend dying in a sacrifice for his tribe, and just like being like
mysterious female figure.
Yeah, and just feeling like I don't care what happens to this tribe as long as I get this person back. And I tapped into that, which is I hadn't done before in a playthrough of Shadow of the Colossus.
Yeah, I think it was an excellent version of that game, and it has a couple blemishes that I would have to point out. I think I would recommend it as the definitive version.
Yeah.
With the exception that, and I think it's only forgivable because you don't look at his face very much, but he has what Jacob and I call bloated corpse face. Mm-hmm. They've given Wander, and he like had such a like lo-fi design before, just by virtue of it being a PlayStation 2 game. But it worked. It was very simple and it worked. And then they, gave this kid like big fleshy cheeks and a mullet. And the thing is like, I pointed this out to Jacob. It's like, oh, this looks like me in high school. Mm-hmm. And I don't think nobody thought I looked good. So, I mean, that seemed like
It was a weird call, and I mean, it isn't that important, but I mean, there's a couple other things like that. Like, there's great environmental art direction, but still some of the things like, there were a couple hiccups of glitches, it seems like, textures that didn't load in, and they changed some of the animations, and the animations look up pretty good. Like, Wander's run cycle has changed. Mm-hmm. But, like, it didn't feel like, there was a lot of things like that where there was like, okay, I don't know. It didn't didn't like get a fire burning inside you. You know what I mean? It didn't like it got you excited for Blue Point but for the future. You know, it's like, oh, okay, cool. Blue Point's doing Shadow of the Colossus, neat. Like, but what are you going to do in the future? What are you going to do next? Like, that's what's so exciting. This was less exciting to me.
Oh, I still think this is one of my highlights of the year. But like I agree with you, it's because they've whoever at Blue Point has gone on record to say their next project is also a remake, but one of a larger scale, which goes on to fire the imagination.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think one of my highlights of the year, even having played Shadow of the Colossus many, many times before.
Well, and it's nice too that it was announced and it came out, 7 months after it was announced.
Yeah, so you're not waiting for years for this thing. But I mean, inherently, I remember when it was announced at E3, us going, well, that's something nobody asked for. Mm-hmm. Because it was already like one of those, Shadow of the Colossus, the HD version was already definitive. Mm-hmm. It's like, oh, it looks dated, but the art direction is so strong, it doesn't matter. And then I think with this remake had shown us, it's like, oh, you really can make this look much, much better and keep most of the soul intact. Mm-hmm.
I found myself exploring a lot, like even though there's not really incentive to, like there's lizards and fruit and they added the coins, but it's just like liked exploring, looking at the environment.
Yeah. I mean, there's like, even going back to the original game, there's like abandoned ruins, and then you can sort of like piece it together like an archaeologist. Okay, what is any of this used for? Mm-hmm. Like, what was the society that made these ruins? That's so great about all those Fumito Ueda games. Mm-hmm. Trying to deconstruct this environment you're saying, this, these ancient ruins. What does any of this mean? Because it's a world and not a level. They don't feel like levels. They feel like worlds.
Yeah. And I mean, like, the idea of, like, returning back to where these colossus that have died and seeing just their skeletons, overgrown.
Yeah.
I mean, it's an impressive game.
Yeah.
We played Ni no Kuni 2 this year. Beat it.
Okay, can we just, like, cut out and from earlier? It's, like, really pretty but really disappointing. Okay, this is another one of those.
The bones are just not there.
And like I remember, and I think it's what would be the terminology when people are like beaten so much that they begin to like what's that term?
Stockholm syndrome.
Stockholm syndrome. Like, I have Stockholm syndrome with Ni no Kuni 2.
Yeah.
Because like we booted it up, and as soon as there was a castle and base building, I'm like, oh man. Yeah, I'm liking this. And it's like, I really wasn't, but I was trying to convince myself.
There's no amount of convincing, dude.
Because I wanted it to be fucking Suikoden, and it's not.
Yeah, and it's just so frustrating because, okay, so like, Ni no Kuni 2 is a fine game. It's fine.
It was worth the money.
Yeah, and it was worth the time, Like, I would even recommend you play Ni no Kuni 2 if you haven't. But it's just there was like missed opportunity after missed opportunity after missed opportunity, and like you just wished there was somebody they had just looked and adhered closer to Suikoden, because there's that template there. Yeah, and it's like, man, you guys, it's like Suikoden. The Suikodens that people don't like do it better than Ni no Kuni 2.
Right. It's yeah, and again, should have liked it better. Like, the art direction is very pretty. The two tracks on the soundtrack are very good. Yeah, that they keep replaying over and over again, by Joe Hisaishi. Very good soundtrack. Very pretty art direction, but it should be more. And part of it, like, I blame that Akihiro Hino, the head of the studio, who calls all of the shots. He's not a especially talented guy. Yeah. And you see it in the through line of any game that he writes and directs, is that he's not a good writer and he's not a good director. Yeah. I appreciate the guy for continuing to make kind of like my style of game, sort of, for like like beating that drum. I just wish he would recognize that maybe he's not the best person to do it. It's like,
Yeah.
Hand the reins to a more talented person on the team, or hire out. Most of the most talented Japanese role-playing game people don't have jobs. It's like track them down and then give them the money to make something better.
Well, because I've sort of talking around it. I mean, it's just like the ending is stupid. I'm not going to spoil the ending, but it's just dumb. It's just like, I feel like the ending kind of retcons the whole purpose of the game. The characters that you're recruiting are all recruited through fetch quests. There's like 1,000 fetch quests in Ni no Kuni 2.
Yeah. And like none of the side content felt meaningful at all.
No.
And most of the main content didn't feel meaningful.
No.
It felt structurally like one of those like shitty gotcha games. Yeah. Like you're running through doing something really dumb for like a minuscule reward.
Yeah.
And then there's like even the fucking like cooldown timer.
Yeah.
It's like, why does this exist?
And it's like, man, I know this was probably like too much work, but like I wanted to explore my town in the perspective that I explored the rest of the towns in the game. But like you're limited to that like super zoomed out, like iPhone game of like building your castle. You know what I mean?
And what's like, okay, what's a missed opportunity there is that Level 5 is known for their town building simulations, like going way back to like the original Dark Cloud, of like getting to place any structure you want in any place you want, and like and like sort of like very rudimentary like town building sort of things,
But everybody's castle in town in Ni no Kuni 2 will look the same.
Yeah, by the time you finish it, it will look identical.
Because you can't have freedom over where you place the armor shop. It has to be there.
And I don't know why that is, because like the layout itself, it's fine, but like it's not like extraordinary. Like why would it hurt to put the weapon shop over on the other side of town?
Well, and then like also by the time you have a maxed out town, like there's like bad like frame rate and like weird screen tearing stuff and like
yeah. I don't hate it.
I don't hate it either.
I wish I loved it more. Liked it.
Edith Finch I played and beat this year.
Yeah, me too. On your recommendation.
Yeah,
it is shit. Never played this game. No, I'm teasing.
Edith Finch is like eye opening. It's like one of the best. And I don't want to just be overly limiting here, but like one of the best indie games I've ever played.
Yeah.
I think it really it's like on Gone Home level or higher.
Or, it's in that milieu of like a light adventure game / walking simulator. But
so much better than, I think like Walking Simulator doesn't give it enough credit.
No. But I mean, I think that's the genre though. Like it exists in the Dear Esther, Gone Home.
Unfortunately, it exists in the realm of Dear Esther.
I don't mind Dear Esther, but what was and when Jacob had played it and recommended it, I was a little wary because I had played all the way through
Unfinished Swan.
The Unfinished Swan, and I was really looking forward to that. And I didn't like that nearly as much as I thought I would. And I thought Edith Finch was being from that same team. It's like, okay, it looks really good, but once I get in, I'm not going to like it as well as I think I should. But Jacob's like, no, dude, bro, play Edith Finch. And then I started, and it was emotional, and it was beautiful and amazing, and like, I very, very highly recommended. It is I think one of the best games of the generation.
Mm-hmm. Played and beat Inside this year.
I played a little bit of it. I played to where the mermaid was destroying the submarine, or maybe a little bit past that.
And so I got Edith Finch and Inside at the same time. I don't know if they were both on sale or what, or I just wanted to play them. And I was like, oh man, Edith Finch is like better than I ever expected. Like now I'm gonna jump into Inside. I liked Limbo. Like I'm super pumped, and like Inside's fine, but like I hate it. I hate Inside.
Okay, I don't hate it. It felt monotonous, and part of it was because I was trying to finish it. Like I felt it became sort of chore-like, which is probably not what you want for your short, handful of hour indie game, for it to feel like a chore. But I don't know what it was, because on paper it should be better than Limbo, which we both love, or like.
I like Limbo.
But like Limbo is, it's fun and stylish, and Inside is, it's stylish and interesting, and I don't know what it was that it didn't grab me.
Yeah, to me, like I could go on a rant, and like I hate the ending. To me, it's just like Inside is so pretentious, and it's like it thinks it's so much better than it is, and I don't know. I could go on a rant for forever, but I don't know. I feel bad like bashing this game that like the people are passionate about, but I think, and maybe it also just coming off Edith Finch, coming hot off the how good that was, or how much that spoke to me, and then wanting something like that from Inside, and then just not getting that.
Yeah. I mean, I still think maybe I'm being unfair because I didn't finish it. But, it was, again, very pretty. It was very pretty.
Yeah.
Art direction is phenomenal, like very well crafted. I can think early on when I had first started playing it, there was a scene where you're being chased. Mm-hmm. These flashlights are shining through the forest, and it didn't appropriately spell out what any of that meant, and I just kept dying and again and again and again.
And like what you were supposed to do to win.
Or to get past this, to get through this area. It's like, and it was never especially spelled out clearly.
Yeah,
and it felt like it feels more obtuse than Limbo.
Well, yeah, and talk about what we're talking about, like with Gravity Rush 2, like, oh, you stepped 5 steps out of like where we wanted you to be, sorry, in mission kind of stuff. Like Inside is full of that kind of stuff where, man, they really want you to do that a particular way, and if you jumped on top of this box instead of, hid behind it, it's like.
But like Limbo had very specific things, but I think with Limbo, the deaths were entertaining, and you immediately got it's like I needed to jump, that log was going to come crush me.
Yeah.
And like it more clearly demonstrated to you okay, you failed, but here's what you did wrong, or we knew you would jump there and we're gonna crush you because that would be funny. Or the spider jumps out and how would you know that sort of thing. And Inside was sort of doing that, but not clearly demonstrating, at least to me, what it was I was, and I think that just made the game much more frustrating.
Like stuff with that mermaid, dude. Ugh, barf. But on a positive note, one of the biggest surprises of the year, one of the most emotional games of the year, potentially some people's game of the year.
Okay, are you talking about Far Cry 5?
Yes, I'm talking about... No.
We
didn't play Far Cry 5.
No.
Even though I think we said we were going to, but we didn't. I'm talking about God of War. Played and beat God of War this year.
Yeah. And if you've been listening to the Let's Play, how often did we how often did we bring up God of War?
Zeus!
And that was such a surprise because, Jacob and I had played the original trilogy, and we're like, okay, this is fun, and it's a spectacle, but this character is such a dipshit, and like, it's the music swelling heroically as this guy is doing something terrible. Like, do the people who made this game not know that this guy is the worst? So we didn't have high hopes going, so we saw that original trailer. I was like, wow, this is surprisingly fucking emotional.
Yeah.
That got us in. Because if you told us before we even saw that trailer, it's like, oh, we're going to be interested in a God of War game. It's like, no fucking way.
Yeah.
But I mean, this is a completely new genre. It's a different take on the character that doesn't ignore the things he does in the past. In fact, like all those dipshit things he does in the past weigh on this character as he's grown older and feels bad about it.
Yeah.
Like, it's so good.
Yeah. And I mean, like, when we're talking about like games that speak to us, like, this is a Metroidvania style
action role-playing game.
Mm-hmm. Like Zelda or like
a Symphony of the Night, you know, sort of.
I mean, it's like compares favorably to all of these other genres and games that we love, and like just this idea of exploring. You know, you're exploring an environment that's changing as like this lake is rising and falling, and
and. You know, so mechanically it's great. The structurally it's great. The graphics are awesome.
The characters
are like just sink it like being one of the best games of the generation. It's like these characters are so well acted and so well thought out, and it just, for me, it was firing on all cylinders. You know, you know, roll out that chestnut. But it has, you know, those things that I found like annoying that people liked about the original God of War trilogy. It's like, this isn't one of those games. This is an action role-playing game that takes place in that universe. Yeah,
and it's so funny because like it really doesn't ignore it doesn't try to hide those games. That's what's so funny. It's like, man, you like nailed this for newcomers, for oldcomers, for everybody who either loved or hated the old God of Wars. It's like you have embraced those games while also mocked them simultaneously.
Yeah. And man, you know, what an achievement. Very, very good. Oh, and the soundtrack, fucking. Yeah.
Can you tell that Joe and I are trained throat singers?
The Mongolian throat singers.
Boy.
Read it, boy. Boy.
And God of War, of course, won the Keeleys.
Yeah, that was a surprise.
Yeah. I played and beat Yakuza 6.
As did I.
And frequent listeners to our Let's Play will know that about the Secret of Onomichi, and we won't spoil it.
Yeah, just... Okay, it's not a train.
It's not a train.
It's not a plane. It's not a car.
No. It's not Superman.
It's not a bicycle. It is some other mode of transportation. Maybe some sort of watercraft.
Not a jet ski, though.
Not a jet ski.
Not a raft.
No.
You might be thinking that it's a canoe. It's not. Anyway, Yakuza 6, it was my first Yakuza game, and I loved it. I actually really, really, really liked Yakuza 6.
And I was familiar with the franchise beforehand, and so like it felt good. And because it'd been years since I played a Yakuza game, it's coming back to Kamurocho. Like, and because each game takes place in the same, like, the district of Tokyo. And it was nice coming back, and the graphics, aside from the screen tearing, were good. Yeah, we're very good. It was nice jumping back in, and like, you know, catching up with these characters that I love.
Yeah, I mean, like, I love the characters of Yakuza. Like, I grew to love Cosmic Kiryu and like the guys in what's the other town? Onomichi.
Yes.
Freaking in Onomichi. But it's, I guess, it's a Hiroshima. They're in like Hiroshima.
Yeah.
And like, I just loved those characters. Like, I loved how they're dynamic, and I love like just feeling like this, like I existed in this like exaggerated Japanese like mobster story
where like every mobster is a man baby.
Yeah, like who's got a heart of gold.
Yeah, man baby with a heart of gold. Okay, wait. There's two kinds of mobsters. There's the really fucked up mobsters that you don't want to cross at any, like, are pure evil, and then the mobsters that are man babies with hearts of gold.
Like, I really loved Yakuza 6 so much. And, like, even though The Secret of Onomichi is, like, stupid, I loved hearing about it. Like, the whole game is, like, Secret of Onomichi? And, like, just, like, this, just, like, how crazy it is. It's, like, who wrote this? You know, like, what human being would even write this story?
Because it's, okay, and I made this comparison when we were playing it, that it's like a dumb kid's cartoon. Okay, it's set up like it should be a crime drama for adults. And it has adult themes, but it's written like a stupid Saturday morning kids cartoon. And it's like the weird, like, who wrote this? It's like, this isn't for adults, this is for children. It's a boat. Like, that's not a secret, it's a boat. It's a boat. And like, you know, there's something really charming about it, even though, like, you know, it's super dumb and, you know, always kind of has been. But I mean, that's in a similar but maybe more aggressive way than like Metal Gear.
Yeah.
Like Metal Gear is, I think Yakuza per parts goes more dumb than even Metal Gear.
Yeah, and I mean, like, it's hard to, like Metal Gear, it's basically just like Metal Gear Solid 4 that's dumb. You know, like, it's, like, there's, like, silly things in Metal Gear Solid 1, 2, and 3, but it's, like, 4 that's the dumb one that people, like, sort of overgeneralize the whole series as having, like, you know, cats really do love to play as snakes kind of stuff. Like, that's in 4, not the other two. Like, so
okay, well, they do have like fucking ocelot like growling into the air. And
sure. And he's got he's got an arm sewed onto him that's possessing him and stuff. Yeah,
there's dumb stuff, but like I think they'd roped it enough, but like it went off the rails in 4. But the sort of Yakuza 6 is the Metal Gear Solid 4 of that franchise.
Yeah, because it's the culmination of like all of it. And
it
gets pretty hammy.
And like somehow somebody becomes somebody else's dad at the end, and that was never like set up. I'm just gonna say, like, that's unearned. That like somebody has become somebody else's dad.
You'll just have to play it to get it. Anyway, I played and beat Beyond Two Skulls.
The chew, the tobacco chew.
Beyond Two Skulls. That was a PlayStation Plus game. And I had, I played Heavy Rain before.
Yeah, we played it together. And we liked it all right.
Yeah, we liked Heavy Rain all right. And I played Beyond. I like Beyond. But I think it kind of ends there. I don't really have anything else to say. I do like it. It made me kind of want to play Detroit. And I was going to get Detroit for on Black Friday, but it like sold out, and it was like kind of weird like how to get it. So, but
if the reaction online is you love Detroit or you hate it.
And I feel like Beyond, it's like everybody's like, you hate Beyond. But Beyond, it was okay. You know, it did some interesting things. I played your copy of Rime.
Okay, and I had played through it and quite liked it. It was as a sort of lesser indie eco. It was sort of like a Fumito Ueda game where the art direction and mechanics and where everything was less,
and animations and story
in any possible way you can think of it. It was like a Fumito Ueda game that.
A true poor man's Fumito Ueda game.
I think that's it. But like even then, it's like I liked it quite a bit, and it had maybe a little bit unearned plot twist, but like it hit me in just the right spot, where like I was a blubbering mess toward the end. So I mean, it was an overall positive experience, but it doesn't compare favorably to the things that it's aping. You know, mm-hmm. It's
and I couldn't get over that. Like I played maybe an hour, 2 hours, And I just could not get over that hump of like comparing it to Fumito Ueda games. And
because that's its chief inspiration. It's like, and you see it in everything it does. I
was having a bad time. Just it's like this is not Fumito Ueda caliber. This is not. Why are you doing it this way? Why does this look so bad? Or why does this? It's a pretty looking game, But like, I don't know.
I think
structurally,
I think it has enough different to justify its existence. In its location, in this very pretty Mediterranean island, and kind of it pulls some twists at the end that Ueda I don't think would have done.
I guess like it's an example of what I expected and wanted from it. Is it what it is? I wanted it to be more of just like kind of an island sim where you're just like a kid on an island hanging out. There's day-night cycle, you're hot, just like swimming around, hanging out with like a fox. And like the puzzles like were really off-putting to me. Kind of like, I mentioned earlier, like I don't like puzzles unless they're like really well organically worked into the world. Like God of War puzzles are fine, but something about, I don't know, it's just like, to me, there's a puzzle that speaks to me and a puzzle that every part of me hates. And Ryan had those.
Yeah. And I think it didn't help that, when they had announced that game, like The Last Guardian was functionally canceled. Mm-hmm. But then The Last Guardian like came back from the dead and came out before Rime. I think if The Last Guardian hadn't come out, immediately before Rime.
Yeah.
And been, had done everything Rime is trying to do way, way, way better.
Yeah.
It's like, but I mean, if that hadn't come out, like this would be the nearest we'd get to like a Fumito Ueda game this generation. It's like, and then Ben, Harold is like, oh, but like it doesn't stand alone and it doesn't stand close to its nearest competitor.
I played Captain Spirit,
which is a sort of sequel to
Life is Strange. It's like the prequel sequel kind of. It's not the prequel sequel to Life is Strange. It's like the weird one-off episode that leads into season 2 of Life is Strange.
So what would you call it? In between quel?
Yeah, it's an in between quel. It's starring like a character that isn't in Life is Strange 1. And like, I think it's a fun. I recommended Joe play it. It's pretty short.
Is it still free?
I don't know, probably. It's pretty cool. Nothing else really to say. I played a game called Little Acre, and I beat that. And it's like it's an adventure game with like a neat art style, hand drawn animation, but it's pretty rough.
Oh, okay. I remember you talking about it, but yeah. I don't think and The Witcher 3?
Okay, yeah, so I played The Witcher 3 just for like a touch this year. I was going to do something with it on the channel when we kind of first got started being active on the channel again. Mm-hmm. And I played like a couple hours just to kind of freshen up and recorded some footage, and then I just never did anything with it.
Yeah.
Never played anymore, It's kind of like one of those games that like PS5 comes out and runs it in boost mode, and I can go back and like play through all the DLC from the beginning and start a new Geralt.
Yeah, it's a hell of a game. I think I replayed all of that last year, and it continues to impress. Yeah, one of my favorites.
Played Suikoden 2, obviously, on the channel, as everybody's been watching every episode.
I don't think I've... What?
Have you played Suikoden 2?
I don't think I've heard about it. Is it...
Suikoden? Suikoden?
Sweet.
On top of that, played and beat Suikoden 3 this year on my spare time over the summer.
Which would have been your first time playing it?
No.
Oh, you'd played it before?
Yeah, I beat Suikoden 3 before.
Oh, but when we played it together when you were younger?
Yeah.
Oh, okay,
so like the first time I played it by myself and
10 plus?
Yeah, probably like 10
years.
So there's a lot, like it's kind of one of those games that, Joe was, you were pretty frustrated with Suikoden 3 at the time of its release.
Yeah, I mean, like, once I got over it not being what I wanted it to be, like, it's not a good Suikoden game.
No.
Like, in my mind, it's not canon. It breaks the canon. It's a kind of a frustrating game.
And this is, I think, like the best point how you can make about Suikoden 3 is that it takes the fantasy elements of 1 and 2 and it makes that like the core meat of everything is the fantasy element, Like Suikoden 3 is a fantasy RPG where like when you think of Suikoden 1 and 2, you think of like sort of more grounded political RPG. And
the fantasy stuff is sprinkled in as seasoning. And so what Suikoden 3 is it's a plate full of seasoning.
Yeah.
This is
like it's just a big old bowl of garam masala,
Yeah, it's
curry powder. You're just eating curry powder.
Yeah, and that's what's frustrating, and that's why it's a crappy Suikoden game. But like on its own, it's like we were talking about it earlier. Ni no Kuni 2, which is like it's a decent game. Is like Suikoden 2 wishes it, or Ni no Kuni 2 wishes it was Suikoden 3.
And I think that did influence me when I was playing Suikoden 3, thinking about Ni no Kuni 2 and going, wow, this is like Suikoden 3. Yeah, it's like. I don't think it's a great Suikoden game when you're comparing it to like 1, 2, or 5, even 4. Made somebody angry. But like comparing it to Ni no Kuni 2, it's like, hell yeah, man, Suikoden 3 is awesome.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I liked it. I don't have like too many thoughts about it. Some of those thoughts have been dispersed through the channel or through the Let's Plays too. I played Chrono Cross. Played it before. Played it with 2 of my nephews over the summer. I broke my foot this summer. And
so you were laid up.
I was laid up.
And then the boys came over to play Chrono Cross with you.
Yeah, we made it to... I don't know, might as well spoil it. We got like swapped to playing as Link's body.
Oh, okay.
So like, I don't know how far that is. Felt like somewhat far. We played for... a couple months in the summer in the afternoons,
Hell of a spoiler. He plays Link from The Legend of Zelda.
Mm-hmm. You got
2 of them.
You get the tunic. Played Oblivion for the channel. Played Spider-Man.
Yeah.
PS4 Spider-Man.
And this is where this is another one of those where we don't see exactly eye to eye.
Good eye.
Because I'd actually bought this game. We'd gone to the midnight launch and I picked up the copy.
Yeah, well, that was just because of how Joe and I bought Dragon Quest XI came out the same week, and Joe was going to buy one and I was going to buy the other, and we had settled on that I was going to get Spider-Man, but just because of how I was going to pre-order through Prime and Spider-Man wasn't available for pre-order, and Dragon Quest had the discount through Prime, so
yeah, and maybe that's one of those things where we buy games individually, but it's our collective games. Is how we treat it. But I wonder if just by virtue of me putting down the money right then and there, I felt like some sort of, because I kept thinking, I paid for this.
Yeah.
And you were so high on this game, and I'm like, oh man, it's. So talk about it, man.
Yeah, I mean, I love Spider-Man. I love the story.
It is a good story.
I love the characters. I love the cutscenes. It's got great direction. That New York looks great. The mechanics are good. And I mean, your complaint is my complaint also. It's just it just takes up more of your heart than mine.
Yeah, it's a lot of punching dudes in the face.
So a lot of the side quests are bad. The side objectives are boring. They're like checklist punching dudes in faces. It's why am I okay, let me do something interesting. And I mean, they do try to mix it up. There are other tasks things. There's challenges, which I hate, of course. And there's these research labs. But the research labs, I think suck. I think I don't like swinging, and trying to dodge this really cartoony lightning. I don't like swinging around and crop dusting, the freaking water because New York's gonna blow up if I don't. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, they were poorly contextualized. But like it's one of those things. Is like I agree. It's like it's a gorgeous game. I love the story. Like the characters are great. I love swinging around and exploring the city. But it's got that fucking open world problem where you trigger a fucking mission and it's a drag.
yeah,
It's fun until like oh man, I've got to go fucking talk to whoever. It's like and do something that I'm sure I'm not gonna like, and then I don't. Yeah, and it's. Man, so much punching dudes in the face.
yeah. And I mean, they do try to mix it up a little bit. There are the sections you play as MJ. There's a section, and we won't get into spoilers, but like you
can visit locations and walk around as Peter Parker.
Yeah,
which I
kind
like.
of. In the story, there is that, but like I wish there was more of that. I wish there was like you could just head over to your apartment and get out of your spider suit and just walk around New York as Peter. Go to the homeless shelter and just like do like. Chores. Like, just let me just do chores here. Let me just work here and talk to people.
And that's where it would really shine. And that's what I wanted. Because as it stands, it's, I've said this to Jacob before, Spider-Man is merely the best Infamous game. And that sounds great. It's like, Infamous is just okay.
Yeah.
It's like, I wanted it to be something that it's not. And what it is it's a really good superhero game. But I wanted it to trend. Like, this seemed like the perfect opportunity to transcend. Because, I love superheroes growing up. Like, I have a very good idea of who these characters are. And part of the dynamic of being a superhero is, like, having a life outside of it. And you see just flashes and glimpses of it in the new Spider-Man, which is more than you get in the Arkham games. Mm-hmm. But I wanted it to be like as Spider-Man, you've got to balance all of these things, and it's not always going to go your way, like it doesn't for Spider-Man. Mm-hmm. And that's not a power fantasy. It's you are being Spider-Man, and that would be rad. Uh-huh. And they made the assets, and like they could have done it. And I think they didn't because that doesn't test well.
Yeah.
And it probably wouldn't review well. And that's really just I want to persona the superhero game. And they're not going to fucking do that. And like I should have known better. But after God of War, anything was possible.
Well, and I mean, Insomniac is a precedent of like doing like things that, like I think about Ratchet and Clank and Crack in Time. There's like a lot of just like flying around, hanging out in space, listening to the radio station. And okay, by the way, like Spider-Man is super weird because like I don't know if the writers know that like Spider-Man's like towing this weird like police state line.
Oh yeah.
And like
that was very fucking weird.
Like where you're tapping into like the super crooked like spying on people things, and then like that Yuri the like whatever police chief is like freaking asking you to like go in and do stuff without a warrant so that then they can go in when they hear gunshots of them shooting it. It's just like, this is super like crooked. Like, what the hell am I doing right now?
What kind of gross dystopian police state that not only exists, but Spider-Man is helping exist.
Yeah.
And
it's weird.
Like through that whole game, he doesn't see, any sort of like moral quandary. It's like he will judge other people for their actions, but like fucking Spider-Man, dude, it's really fucked up. But like, is that like a statement by Insomniac Games?
I don't think so. Like,
are we culturally in a space where that's okay now to like be in a corrupt fascist police state?
Well, and like what's weird is like J. Jonah Jameson's radio thing. Like, he says like some stupid things and whatever, but like there's a core there of like J. Jonah is like kind of criticizing and questioning like, why is the police using Spider-Man as this tool? Like it's like illegal, but J. Jonah's mocked. Like it's like, oh, haha, joke character coming.
Oh, like that one nutty YouTube conspiracy theorist guy that I've seen people say, oh, he's like that guy. Like it's like I mean, to be fair, I don't know a whole lot about it, other than like I've heard clips of that guy being fucking crazy. But But no, it's like, yeah, he's spot on. Spider-Man is being a criminal here. Like, the thing he did here, fucked up. Shouldn't be monitoring, like, everybody's fucking phone calls and shit.
Yeah.
Like, that's not underdog behavior. Spider-Man's an underdog. He's not interfering with the law, but he's still working outside of it. But him as like a fucking jackbooted fucking Gestapo, like,
Who,
dude.
like, the police just like, hey, Spider-Man, we think there's some like crime stuff going on here. We can't prove it, but why don't you go break in this building
and then assault everybody inside?
Yeah, and then we'll show up because then it will be legal once we start hearing gunshots and stuff. It's just like, you suck, people.
So, and as you fucking tap into everybody's cell phone conversations, fuck off, Spider-Man. Outside of that stuff, like, he was with Yuri Lowenthal?
Yeah.
Who was
Yosuke.
Did a great...
From Persona 4.
From Persona 4. Great Peter Parker. Great rendition of Peter Parker. Characters were super fun. Mary Jane, I've got my problems. It's like, no, she's a great character. I don't think she's a good person.
Yeah. Like, maybe Spider-Man, like, Peter, like, you can find somebody else,
Yeah.
There's other fish.
But, like, great character, bad person. But, like, do the designers of the game know that she's a bad person?
I don't know.
Is she the new Kratos?
Yeah.
Zeus! In 10 years, will there be, like, a Spider-Man soft reboot where Mary Jane feels bad about herself?
Yeah, probably, man. But I still got emotional in Spider-Man. Tears.
I did too. Like, yeah, surprisingly emotional. I just wish I liked the game better.
Here's a game that you like, and you put in a lot of hours, and I got 2 credits, and I plan on doing the epilogue stuff this winter break.
I think it's important to the experience to get that stuff.
And this is Dragon Quest XI.
I don't think I've ever heard of this series.
Yeah, is that some sort of like nerd thing? Dragon Quest? That sounds like some sort of nerd thing.
It is a nerd thing. I think I've said this on every time we talk about Dragon Quest, but this is like one of my very first video game loves is Dragon Warrior on the NES. Uh-huh. So since 1989, this has been in my life, like a prominent part of my life is the Dragon Quest series. And like I was talking to Jacob about it, it's like, okay, I'm thinking of the other stuff from 1989 that I liked, fucking Ninja Turtles and He-Man and all this other shit. It's like, those things are lame. Dragon Quest is still fucking awesome. Mm-hmm. And 11 is awesome.
Yeah, like 11, I think is bigger in scope, has better characters, has a better adventure, has better everything pretty much than 8, which was a good game. Like, yeah, it wasn't our favorite Dragon Quest, but like I think it was one of the best PS2 games. Yeah, and I mean 11 stands, I think, favorably, to like some of the other greats like 4, 5, 7. Yeah, probably it's hard when you're comparing it to 7 because like there is like some similar elements and they're just not quite as Dragon Quest 11 isn't quite as fleshed out as like some of those other ones that I just mentioned. But
right, but it's it's a bigger, more involved game with just so much more to it than 8, which was surprising because I thought that with it the art assets being so much greater and I was expecting less and got much, much more.
It sort of feels like a Final Fantasy 15 of the series where it's like the first time like seeing like just how big like a Dragon Quest enemy is and like, wow, like this believable world where these things are existing and like what would this look like? It's like, oh yeah, I mean like 8 does that and did that for the time, but it's just the evolution of that in such a nice way. And it's very pretty. The music is
a little grating. But yeah, they also had great characters. Like I think Forerunners would be Sylvando and Hendrik.
Oh yeah, Hendrik, great villain.
Great villain.
Great villain.
And yes, Sylvando was fun to watch.
I remember texting Joe when I met Silvando. I think I just said Silvando, 10 out of 10.
Yeah, he's a Spanish Freddie Mercury kind of bombast.
Hello, darlings.
Yeah.
Very much like that. And then the final game, this is the last game I've played for this year and beat, was Red Dead Redemption 2.
Red Dead Redemption.
No wonder they all leave you. So this is like, probably like most people have like played Red Dead Redemption 2 at this point or know of it. But like Arthur Morgan, like the main character, is Eeyore. He is Eeyore from Winnie the Pooh. Like, man, that dude is like straight up Eeyore. I guess I'll just go over here and die. Just like, all right, dude. I guess all I ever was good for was nothing. Like, this just kind of like, all right, man. Like, have some confidence in yourself.
But like, that's like when you told me about that, when you were playing it before I'd even started it, like that got me into that character. Like, that immediately made me love that character, because although those kinds of people are frustrating to be around in life, being one of those people I know, it's also like relatable and interesting, instead of like a super cocky, brash, like power fantasy hero. This is somebody who's dealing with shit.
And like so Red Dead Redemption 2, like I really, really, really love Red Dead Redemption 2. And like there's just like similarly, there's just parts that are so frustrating, and it's frustrating. Like all those cores are so good. Arthur's so good. The characters are so good. The dynamic and the build and the gang and the world and the graphics and the music and how everything works and the systems and like, but like there's just some like fundamental problems structurally with like it goes to this power fantasy in a weird way. Like when you're Arthur Morgan,
you're chapter 5.
Yeah, like when you're Arthur Morgan and you're taking down the army, like an entire army by yourself, and you're just like, like Gears of Warring down like a tunnel shooting guys. It's just like, all right, man, like this isn't what this game's about.
And I'm not there yet. Like I don't know, like 10 hours in or something. But like it's incongruous with this guy who's sort of a down on his luck cowboy.
Yeah.
Which is like where it shines. It's still a very frustrating game, even like 10 hours into play.
Yeah.
Because I keep accidentally punching my horse in the face. I don't know why there's a punch your horse in the face button. Don't know why it exists. Like, I'm just trying to get something off the fucking saddle. I don't know why Cold Cock's with fucking horse all the goddamn time, and the horse hates me.
You're hitting the wrong button.
I know, but like, why is there a punch your horse in the face button?
Because there's a punch button.
But no, okay, this is a specific animation that always cold cocks your horse in the side of the head.
Yeah. Well, probably for like, if you want to be like bad boy Arthur.
But
bad boys, like they punch their horses in the face.
Other than like a reference to that like Terrence Hill movie where that guy punches the horse in the face.
It might be a reference.
But like do that once.
I feel like it was put in for like they would know that some streamer would be like, I bet they're not going to let me punch my horse. I'm just going to try punching my horse, and then he punches the horse, and then he feels bad.
Yeah, it's very frustrating to play even now. And every time I jump in, because like I don't have time to play games during the weekdays. Like I jump in on the weekend, it's like, and it feels like starting over, and it feels like it's not a fun game mechanically. It's fun. It's fun heading out in the world, but like all the time I'm fighting fucking mechanics.
There is a point when like you do it just somehow like it just doesn't bother you anymore. I feel like, but yeah, I don't know. Like I really do love Red Dead 2. I really do.
See. Oh, and so that wraps up Jacob's list. I've got a couple of additions here that I played that Jacob didn't. And that would one of them would be a light adventure game called Virginia that came out in 2016. It was cheap on PSN, and I picked it up. Yeah, it's rad. I like it a lot. Very artsy, maybe not for everybody, but if you like those sorts of games, it's very good. What surprised me, there was no spoken dialogue, so like you're just sort of inferring what's going on by context, and that makes it so much like weirder and
Kind of
more
like
interesting.
The Quiet Man.
Which I hear is really good.
Yeah, people love The Quiet Man. Hey, you should go play The Quiet Man.
Maybe it's good. I don't know, but Virginia is very good. I'd recommend it to Jacob. And just last night, played Hidden Agenda.
Yeah, which is kind of like a somewhat follow-up to like Until Dawn.
It's a small, bite-sized Until Dawn that you just play with your phone. So like your PlayStation interacts with, like, it's meant for playing with a party. If you played it alone, it would be a drag. So like you have a group of people all on their phones interacting with like an Until Dawn style game, making decisions for the characters by voting on it, or making things awkward by the game asking you who, like, questions about the room. Okay, who among you is the smartest? And people voting on that, and that being awkward. But like, I liked it. I liked the story. It's not nearly Until Dawn, not even close. But for like a small downloadable thing that you play at parties, it's like I was impressed. I thought I got my money's worth.
Yeah, cool.
If you like Until Dawn and you like doing Until Dawn like a party game, would recommend.
Well, Until Dawn's like just one of those hidden gems of this generation. Like so good. Really unbelievable. Actually, how good that game is.
Right, and that's the thing is like, you have Quantic Dream making like Heavy Rain, and the Telltale like Walking Dead series is that I kind of feel Supermassive beat both of them with Until Dawn.
Yeah.
They're doing the exact same thing, but way, way, way better.
Well, yeah, I mean, they're doing it way better than Telltale is now.
Okay, well, they're, yeah. And I mean, way, way better specifically than Quantic Dream.
Yeah,
at least
Telltale's like Walking Dead Season 1 is like A tier, like it's hard to beat Walking Dead Season 1.
But I think Until Dawn is up there.
Yeah, it's yeah.
I think I think in most ways it does. I mean, it's prettier. It has motion capture. It's
just going for a different thing. Like,
right.
Until Dawn is just like it's meant to be fun and lighthearted in a way. It's like super dark and gory, but it's like in a fun way.
Yeah, I would put it up there with the best of that particular genre of like I don't know, like a choose your own adventure style games.
Yeah.
I think I don't think you're going to make a better one than Until Dawn. But I mean, we're not talking about Until Dawn. We're talking about
Hidden
Agenda.
Agenda.
So I mean, if you haven't played Until Dawn, play that. And if you get sick, or not sick of it, but like if you want more of that eventually, pick up Hidden Agenda.
Yeah. Do it. Is that it, Joe?
For me, it is that I can think of.
So I was thinking we're going at about an hour and a half right now. So I was thinking that we'd end with just like a quick channel update of where we've been this year, where we're going. Because I kind of feel like this has been a big year for the channel, where we've been around since New Year's 2016, which will be about 3 years ago. And, we did some videos. We did a couple cooking videos. We did some animations. We experimented with a Let's Play and some podcasts. But I feel like this is the year that we really, put on our shoes and our suit and went to work on this channel.
Kind of cemented our voices a bit.
And how much they sound alike.
That's what I hear. And I think going into next year, we're going to try to gussy up the channel a bit. I'm working on a new art, kind of rethink how we do some things. Maybe keep keep it tight.
Yeah, you might see some new art stuff. You might see some new intros and some music, and we might get to, I'm learning just better editing tricks, and we're always looking for ways to improve, and like I want our audio to improve. Like I think I'm gonna spend some time looking into like what kind of mics can we do? How can we had Jess on as a guest, and like we loved having a guest on so much, but it was sort of hard with like our setup. Our setup's uncomfortable. We're sitting on ottomans without back support, and we're sitting really close around a single mic, and then when Jess was here, she had to sit a little bit farther back, so the audio was it sounded more roomy, and so we're just always trying to look for ways to improve, and so you'll probably see some of those improvements in the following year as we keep playing games. Go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, and I think we're gonna, every month do one of these podcasts just to touch base with everybody, answer questions from the YouTube page.
Yeah, and I mean, ideally, this sort of podcast format, it starts out with just Joe and I, talking about stuff without an outline or anything, and then eventually moves into, as we gain more subscribers and as we gain a bigger following, answering community comments and questions, and playing like fun games, like kind of like if you listen to the Easy Allies podcast, like they get like just like fun games, stuff like that. Would be something that would be interested in doing. And
user sent in games, like
games.
Thought experiments or sorts of things.
Like can't even think of an example right now, but like like guess which E3, what game won E3 in this year, kind of stuff like that. But that's just as we move forward in the future. And we have already a queue of games lined up for when we beat the Dark Brotherhood, Suicune 2, and Shadow Destiny. And we got some cool stuff in the works. And we hope to see you next month for another Carriageway Check-In podcast.
Yeah, And until then, everybody stay safe and have a great holiday.
Happy New Year.
Stay spiffy.